There are government employees that are still waiting for paychecks, back paychecks months ago.
Yeah.
You know, what are the odds that they're going to get paid quickly for this Harry and Meghan visit?
You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million mansion. This is the same woman who said, I never even considered my blackness until the British tabloids started to make a thing out of it. Now she's like, I am Nigeria. Fellow women, hear me roar.
Wanting to exploit their royal titles, I think it stinks. And I think what King Charles should do, he should just strip them of the titles.
Disaster opportunists, which is exactly right. Disaster tourists.
It was supposed to be their comeback, a redemption arc halfway across the world. But instead of applause, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were hit with a diplomatic slap in the face. Nigeria, once their warmest international welcome, just shut the door. Hard. This wasn't a minor scheduling mix-up or quiet decline. It was loud, brutal, and public. A rejection that has sparked headlines, backlash, and whispers of something bigger unraveling.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry may no longer be working royals, but their recent trip to Nigeria looked very much like a royal tour of their own.
This is a pattern for her. It's not about charity. It's about her image.
The couple who once dazzled the world with royal glamour and Hollywood charm now find themselves ghosted by a country they tried to claim as family. Why did Nigeria turn on them so quickly? What secret agendas were hiding behind the handshakes and traditional dances? And what does this mean for the Sussexes' already fragile global brand? Buckle up, because what happened on this so-called tour wasn't just embarrassing, it was explosive.
So many of the locals are enraged over the fact that their government is going to be paying for the security of Harry and Meghan.
Here's where it gets messy. Meghan and Harry didn't just get a cold shoulder, they got the official boot. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a flat-out rejection of their second visit without sugarcoating a single word. No delays, no excuses, no polite redirection. Just a firm not welcome. For a couple banking on global goodwill, this was more than a snub. It was a calculated move. Why? Because insiders say Nigerian officials saw the trip not as a goodwill mission, but as a strategic publicity stunt.
Harry and Meghan, I don't know if this is a royal tour. They're not working royals, are they? But they're not politicians or pop stars. What exactly are they doing touring Nigeria in the first place, Kinsey?
Nothing about it screamed partnership. Everything screamed branding opportunity. The Sussexes reportedly wanted a repeat of their first visit, one filled with cameras, curated crowds, and staged ceremonies. But behind the scenes, Nigerian diplomats were asking tough questions. Who invited them? Why now? And most importantly, what was the actual purpose?
Many Nigerians were thinking, well, this is a bit of a waste of public money. This is not like we're courting a state that can help us with resources. This is kind of like a faux royal couple that are there to kind of boost their image.
It didn't help that during their first trip, Meghan leaned heavily into her ancestry, famously claiming she was 43% Nigerian thanks to a DNA test. But what some saw as a personal connection, others viewed as a performance. Cultural leaders accused her of turning deep heritage into a headline. The result? What was once a warm embrace has now turned into a slammed door and a message to the world. Nigeria is no one's prop.
For one reason, to get their faces back on camera and to improve their image. They want people to think well of them, so they decide, what they really need? Us. What they need is us.
But that wasn't even the worst part. The moment Meghan stepped on stage and declared her 43% Nigerian heritage, it didn't land the way she thought. Sure, the crowd clapped, but the real reaction simmered beneath the surface and eventually boiled over. Historians, journalists, and cultural figures across Nigeria didn't see a heartfelt tribute. They saw what one scholar called ancestral cosplay. Suddenly, Meghan's entire appearance felt off. The traditional fabrics, the ceremonial dances, the heartfelt speeches, everything was called into question. Was it cultural pride or PR theater?
They felt like she dressed inappropriately throughout the tour. She changed clothes multiple times a day. And you're right, the objective was to look like she was the Princess of Wales.
One respected historian from Lagos didn't hold back, saying, "You can't wrap yourself in African identity only when it fits your brand. That's not connection. That's opportunism." And it didn't stop at criticism. Memes exploded. Side eyes turned to think pieces. Social media roasted the moment as tone-deaf at best, exploitative at worst. Even Meghan's father reportedly raised eyebrows, claiming he'd never heard anything about Nigerian ancestry in their family tree.
But Meghan, of course, did a genealogy test and looked into her heritage of Nigerian.
Right, and Thomas Markle said he was surprised to find out Meghan was 43% Nigerian because he's always felt she was 100% Californian.
For many, the whole thing felt like a scripted stunt meant to build sympathy and boost profile. without the depth or respect to back it up. To Nigerians, their culture is sacred. It's not a PR set or a Netflix storyline. And when Meghan treated it like both, the backlash came fast and loud. Nigeria didn't just say no to a second visit, they sent a clear warning: you can't turn someone else's heritage into your personal plot twist. Here's where it got really awkward. Meghan and Harry walked into Nigeria like they were on a state visit. Motorcades, security teams, glamorous outfits changed multiple times a day. Photo ops curated down to the second. The only thing missing? An official role. That's right, the Sussexes arrived with all the trappings of royalty, without actually being royals.
Like, Meghan, you have a very privileged life.
Yeah.
We all get it. You're beautiful. You married a prince, but that's literally all you've done to when it comes to your accomplishments.
Right.
They're no longer working members of the British monarchy, yet they expected full diplomatic treatment. According to one senior Nigerian intelligence officer, the couple came in demanding royal glam with none of the responsibility. And people noticed. Tribal leaders were reportedly snubbed. Real Nigerian royals, the kind who actually hold cultural authority, were never contacted. Instead, Harry and Meghan met only with safe figures who wouldn't push back or ask uncomfortable questions. That, to many insiders, was the real insult.
Like, she gets this platform, she gets on this stage, and instead of saying, what a beautiful country you have, I'm so blessed to be here, I am courageous, I am brave. Like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Lady, you sound crazy.
The couple cherry-picked their way through tradition like it was a set list for a Netflix shoot. And yes, Netflix cameras were rolling. Multiple sources confirmed that the entire trip was staged for potential content. The goal? A documentary, a memoir chapter, maybe even branded social initiatives under the Archewell umbrella. But what it wasn't was real diplomacy, and Nigeria knew it. That's why this rejection wasn't just political, it was personal. And just when things couldn't get worse for the Sussexes, they did. Back in Hollywood, the fallout from Nigeria's rejection was immediate. The couple's biggest media ally, Netflix, hit pause. Hard. No trailers, no teasers, no green lights. The glossy Diaspora Dreams feature that Meghan's team pitched, scrapped. Why? Because the controversy was just too hot. Legal risks, diplomatic tension, and a wave of bad press made the whole project a corporate landmine. One Netflix insider reportedly said it wasn't worth the brand damage. Translation: Meghan and Harry's names had officially shifted from asset to liability, and Netflix wasn't alone. Publicists began distancing. Agents grew quiet. Former collaborators pulled back. Even Beyoncé's inner circle, once seen as Meghan's Hollywood safety net, went radio silent. For an industry built on image, no one wanted to be caught in the splash zone of another Sussex scandal. The whispers got louder. Meghan and Harry weren't seen as visionary disruptors anymore. They were labeled as overexposed, too risky, too messy. And the biggest irony? In chasing global relevance through a flashy international tour, they triggered a global retreat. The industry that once rolled out red carpets was now locking the doors. But Nigeria wasn't just saying no to Meghan and Harry. They were saying no to something bigger, something deeper. A growing chorus of voices across Africa is now calling out what they've dubbed celebrity colonialism. The idea that wealthy Western figures parachute into developing nations, make emotional speeches, take beautiful pictures, and leave. And what do they leave behind? Often, nothing. No investment, no partnerships, no lasting change, just a flurry of headlines and a boost to their own brand. And in this case, Meghan Markle became the poster child for that critique. Cultural organizations across the continent issued official statements demanding tighter guidelines for celebrity visits. They want public figures to respect tradition, follow protocol, and stop treating African countries like personal PR backdrops. And Nigeria's firm rejection of the Sussexes, that was the first major domino to fall. One Nigerian policy analyst put it bluntly, they are not royalty here. They're tourists with a camera crew. It was a line that went viral, and for good reason, because it hit the heart of the issue: power without purpose, influence without investment, appearance over action. And while Harry and Meghan may have meant well, intent isn't enough anymore. In the age of global scrutiny, performative visits aren't just out of style, they're being actively rejected. What started as a feel-good tour has now become a cautionary tale, and Africa, it seems, is done playing along. Behind the scenes, the damage was even deeper than anyone realized. While Harry and Meghan were trying to spin their Nigeria trip into PR gold, their closest allies were walking away, quietly, strategically, and permanently. One high-profile publicist, once the couple's biggest media advocate, reportedly dropped them as clients. No press releases, no goodbye statements, just silence. In the world of Hollywood, that's louder than a tabloid headline. It's a warning shot. And it wasn't just the press team. Multiple brand executives across Beverly Hills now label the Sussexes as uninsurable. In industry terms, that's the kiss of death. It means you're too risky to pitch, too volatile to sponsor, too unpredictable to touch. Once, Harry and Meghan were seen as a global power couple. Now, they're a branding landmine. Even the British diplomatic world is quietly backing away. Sources close to the UK Foreign Office confirmed they were relieved when Nigeria denied the second visit. One official called the couple a potential diplomatic liability. Not words you want to hear when you're trying to rebuild your image. And here's the real kicker. None of this is about politics. It's about trust. Once that's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. Meghan and Harry didn't just lose a visit, they lost credibility, globally. And now, the final blow. With Netflix stepping back, Hollywood turning cold, and Nigeria slamming the door, Meghan and Harry are facing something they never expected: irrelevance. For a couple who built an empire on attention, this silence is deafening. Their media blueprint, the emotional interviews, exclusive deals, powerful documentaries, is starting to crack. The problem? The world's appetite for their drama is fading, fast. People are tuning out, not because they're bored, but because they're tired. Tired of the contradictions, tired of the performances, tired of the Sussex show. And the truth is, Harry and Meghan seem to be chasing something that no longer exists. A fantasy throne, a soft monarchy, a crown without weight. But the world has moved on. Royal status isn't about titles anymore, it's about authenticity. And once that's questioned, everything else falls apart. The Nigeria disaster didn't just expose a bad trip, it exposed a pattern of control, of vanity, of overreach. The Sussexes came looking for redemption and instead found rejection from the palace, from Hollywood, and now from an entire nation. And as the cameras fade and the headlines cool, one question lingers: what happens when the spotlight turns away? And no one follows. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry didn't just misread the room, they misread the world. What was supposed to be a powerful homecoming turned into an international embarrassment. And now, with doors closing fast, from Nigeria to Netflix to once loyal allies, they're facing a new reality. The global stage they once dominated is slipping through their fingers because the world is no longer clapping, it's watching, waiting, and questioning. Their next moves will define everything. Can they pivot? Can they rebuild? Or will they keep doubling down on the performance even as the audience walks out? Nigeria didn't just say no, they exposed the whole act. And now the Sussexes have a choice to make: evolve or vanish from relevance completely. Drop a comment below if you think this is the beginning of the end, or just the start of something even wilder. Because in the world of royal drama, the next chapter is always just one scandal away.